This conference will now
11
be
o'clock
recorded.
meeting of the budget meeting, Town of Ocean Ridge. Kelly, could you call the roll, please?
Will do. Commissioner Ayla?
Here.
Commissioner Hudson?
Here.
Commissioner Cassidy?
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Cos? Here yet, and Mayor Pugh.
Here. All right, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? All right, hearing none. Anyone to make a motion? The approval of the agenda?
I move that we approve the modified agenda,
Okay,
item 4 on it.
second?
Second.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, public comment.
Terry
Hey,
Brown,
Steve.
Harbor Drive South. So you just removed the one item that we're not going to discuss today. Did I hear that correctly? You removed number 4?
No, we added that to the approval of the agenda.
Oh, it's on this agenda here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I came down, was curious as to, you're going to have a discussion on that at the end of the meeting about the code enforcement and how I know you have a contract proposal, which I don't really have any issues with, except perhaps maybe the number of hours. But there will be a referral process, there will be a case number process, there will be how will it happen?
Well, when we get to that, we'll go ahead and discuss it. You can come up with public comment.
Okay, good. The only other thing I wanted to mention about the budget itself, and I know I've mentioned this before, and you probably get tired of hearing it, but I don't see any vision or any discussion in the narratives about attempting to pay off the town debt. I don't know why, with the town loan the way it is now, you don't pay it off, you keep your revenue the same, you don't lower the rate for the property owner because you need that revenue to do all these projects that you want to do. You want to fix the outfall at the end of Hudson Avenue, which is going to collapse someday. You have the valve problem, water valve problem. You have a lot of little projects that cost $200,000 and $300,000, which is the amount of money that you're paying this bank twice a year. So if you had a plan, a vision to satisfy at least that one debt, you can move forward with some of these other projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, what was that? Hearing none, close public comment and move on into our regular agenda items. Acceptance of the fiscal year 23 audit report. Lynn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The town's financial auditor submitted their FY 22-23 audit for acceptance by the town commission. Issues that are noted in the audit that led to the delay in completing and submitting the audit include the transition of the financial management software, which included a loss of data during the historical data conversion. There are several entries into the system that delayed the completion. Additionally, the implementation of the new GASB 87 standard and the application of this to all the contracts, including those that are for software as a service. We had to account for those in a different way, beginning with the FY 23 audit than we've ever had to do before. So it required going through every single contract that we have, seeing whether it met the requirements for the GASB 87 reporting, and then putting the depreciation and that type of thing together. The audit is complete. The only deficiency that was noted was that it was late on the June 30 deadline. It was submitted to the state on July 22nd, and they have accepted it on their end, but other than that, they said we have a clean audit. They're actually looking forward to working more easily in FY 24's audit, as pretty much everything is already in the system that they need to look at, and they can run the reports remotely.
Is there any penalty for late filing of the audit?
We will get a letter stating that we filed the audit late. I've already gotten a letter asking me where it was. I contacted the state. That letter came on Monday, contacted them. And they have received it. They checked their email because I had sent it in previously last week. And we'd already filed the CAFR, so there's no financial penalties or anything like that.
Is Ron coming to the meeting on Monday?
We're trying to work for him to come on the 5th, yes.
All right. Any questions on the audit?
Nope.
All right. So I'm making a motion.
Make a motion to approve the audit for FY '23. Do we hear a
Is
second?
there a second? All right. Any other public comment? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. All right. Number 2, resolution 2024 resolution, Town and Commission, Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, awarding the request for proposal for banking services TD Bank and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement with TD Bank and designating the TD Bank as a depository for town funds, designating the treasurer or deputy treasurer to sign town checks, and authorizing any one of the 5 town commissioners to countersign town checks, providing for the movement of funds and accounts to TD Bank, and providing for conflicts and an effective date. Lynn?
All right, and on the June 30 meeting, the commission awarded the contract for banking services to TD Bank, and we're now completing the process and paperwork to move the funds from City National to TD Bank and designate the approved signatories for the new accounts, which Resolution 2406 provides for all those necessary steps. The reason this is on today's agenda rather than waiting until the 5th is it's a very time-sensitive issue, as on July 16th, we experienced our 3rd bank fraud in 2 years, since August of 2022. And our options with City National is we either reopen a new general operating account or we finish the transfer. It doesn't make sense to open a new account with City National just to close it in the next 30 days. So we want to get everything authorized now. There is a issue with any transactions that are posted to this account. We have to send a file to City National now, and then they also then call and verify, which with payroll being tomorrow, we don't want to hold up payroll. We will be able to have all of these accounts operating most likely by the end of the first week of August, if not the end of next week, to where we will not need, we'll be completely able to close out everything with City National.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just want to comment.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Yes, the TD Bank emailed me this morning with some revisions to their standard agreement. So as part of the motion, it would be okay to authorize the manager and the town attorney to finalize the agreement for your signature.
Okay. Does somebody want to make that motion?
So moved. Second.
All right. Public comment about TD Bank? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Now, I should have done this at the modifications.
One thing, Mr. Mayor, I do want to point out that while we have had the fraud issues with City National, the biggest challenge we have with the fraud issues has existed with the U.S. Postal Service. The first fraud we experienced, a temporary postal worker picked up checks from Town Hall and stole several of them before he took them to the post office. After that point, we started hand carrying checks to the bank and posting them inside the post office. They got stolen there, and this time again, one of the very few checks that we issued, because we've gone to ACH for most payments, again, was stolen from the post office. We filed the proper reports with the post office or the Postmaster General, but I don't want to imply that City National is not a good,
Okay.
solid bank. It just hasn't worked for us.
Yeah, I know all about it. I had my checks washed too for my company.
I have a question on
From the thing, but it also, they did the Delray Beach and the Postal Service just caught a bunch of people
4 of them.
Yeah.
and found millions of
They
dollars.
were employees.
Yeah. So anyway, what you gonna say?
So my question is, of all the checks that we present,
No, Delaware.
how many are electronic versus handwritten?
At this point, I would say 95 to 97% of our payments are electronic now, either ACH or EFT. We've gone that way with all of our vendors. If the vendor is local, we require them to come pick up a check if they do not want to do the electronic.
Good.
So we're only mailing things that they will not give us the information and they're out of town.
Good deal. All right, now, I should have done this at the additions thing. We should really move the hybrid to number 3, because that might be part of the budget for number 4. Anybody have any
Quick question on this.
problem with
Check.
that? Oh, wait.
Sorry.
Does anybody have a problem with
Yes.
that?
I'm fine.
Okay. Good. Terry, you want to say something?
Did were the checks stolen, when the carrier came in and picked them up from the desk, or were they from the box out there? Because I mail stuff out of that box.
The first time it was, they came in, we handed them our entire outgoing.
Yeah.
And they took them out of the box of things from inside. The last 2 have been stolen from within the post office.
So.
Yeah, it's actually
We don't know
inside.
about this box.
No,
We got a camera on that, chief?
We do.
we don't use the blue post box out here. We hand deliver to postal employees in the lobby. We don't even use the slots. We hand deliver.
Okay, I think we beat that one. All right, so let's go to the hybrid contract discussion, please. All right, Lynn, you want to go through this, or do you want the chief? Which one do you guys want to?
No, I can take it and then the chief can take over. As we discussed at the last budget meeting, the need to have regular code enforcement, somebody that is experienced, trained, and can also be a neutral party, not one of our officers that would be interacting with them from a code enforcement standpoint and then have to interact with a resident from a police standpoint. We currently have an existing professional services agreement with Hybrid for inspection services for the building department, building, zoning, land development, and code enforcement are all part of what's traditionally the community development. And so it would make sense for us to extend our existing contract with Hybrid to include code enforcement. We're already familiar with the staff. The police department staff are very familiar with them, and the employee that would be designated is Manny Palacio, which I'm not sure there's anybody in town that has done anything with building or permits that doesn't know Manny. He's very good at what he does.
So is the contract based on the hours that they turn in hours after they're completed doing the hours? Is that how it is, or it's not just a blanket?
Yes.
So what they have to do the hours, but?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would not be a set, I put in 12 to 20 hours just to give us some budgeting numbers.
Okay.
That's not saying every week they would put in 12 or anywhere between 12 and 20. It would be as he's out doing his other visits to town, he would do that. He would also regularly do a drive-through town. Some days he could do a drive-through town. It's 45 minutes. That's all we get charged for. We might get charged for 5 hours that week total. Another week when there's several issues that have to be then brought in and written up and delivered, that could be a week that's 15 to 20 hours.
All right. Chief, how are you going to work around it?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, we're not looking to get out of code
Just a
enforcement.
second,
We'll still, if there's a violation, workers before hours or any blanket violation, we'll still take action. But I think for all the other issues, I think it'd be great to have a separate code enforcement.
Okay. So that's the whole purpose of it, that it's not the street issues and then workers before hours, but it's the dirty roof or the lawn mower, maybe not mowing their lawns or.
Right.
Work
house in
without a
disrepair.
permit, things like that.
Okay.
Carolyn has a question on the
Oh.
phone.
Go ahead, Carol.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just, historically, how need someone dedicated to doing this. I mean, 20 hours sounds like a lot every week. You know, it's a big difference if we said maybe 16 hours a week. And that's 2 days, right?
Well, the expectation would be that they would not be here for a full 8-hour day. They may come in for an hour on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday because he was on site doing other paperwork and drove through an area and found things and had to come in and speak to Kelly. He may have
Okay,
to,
but again, doesn't 20 hours seem like a lot? I mean, it becomes a significant expense. If you look at 16 hours a week, that's $13,000 a year less that we'd be budgeting.
I agree. As I said, I picked a low number and a moderate if he worked 4 hours a day, every day for a week, just simply if, you know.
Yeah, a lot of it's
Unfortunately,
going to.
considering if there is a hurricane, there will be more things that he will need to address with the building department as code enforcement than he would otherwise. I would hate to shortchange us long-term by saying that 20 hours isn't the max. I rarely doubt that there will be regular weeks, as I said, that he works more than 12 hours.
So I have a solution to this
4
problem.
hours a day just sounds like a lot.
He's billing us with-
for code enforcement.
So can I interrupt you here, Carolyn? I agree with you. I think it's rife for corruption and it's sticky. The guy's looking to inspect the roof and then he sees the guy next door needs his roof blasted. So what does he do? Cut the clock off? So here's my solution. Cap this at 40,000 and you have to come back to us for approval if we go with 40,000 on an annual.
And that's perfectly fine. As I said, I didn't want to bring their proposal to you without actual numbers of what it could impact the budget.
Understand?
And so that's what I tried to do. If you want
Well-
to cap it at 40,000 for code enforcement for the year, and we make sure that we don't exceed that, I'm perfectly happy with that.
Well, you just remember, everybody, that this company does the same thing for High Paluxo. They do the same thing for Manalapan. So this isn't new to them.
How much do those towns pay, do we know?
But they pay the standard $65 an hour rate.
How many hours does it take for them? Can we get any insight from them?
It varies, and then speaking with them, it varies.
So he'll get paid actual, we're just trying to estimate what it'll be.
Right.
Right,
well,
so
that's
that we
all
have
it
it
is.
in the
We're
budget.
not saying that we're gonna limit it to 40,000, we're just saying,
Yeah.
once it goes over 40, we have to approve it.
Right.
No, we're
Right.
not saying we're gonna limit it, we're just saying,
Right, but for budgetary.
we're not authorized to go more than 40 until we.
Right. So
Right.
for budgetary purposes, we would cut it down to 40.
Okay, so somebody might want to make a motion on that? We can,
Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
just one clarification. Do we know if Manny will be doing the notices, or is he merely just going to observe the code violation and then internally our clerk will still be doing all the notices and stuff? Has that been discussed? Because the reason I bring it up is just so that you know, there's a lot more to code enforcement than just driving around observing the violation. By our own code and statute, we have to send out the notice of violation, give them an opportunity to bring it in compliance. If they don't bring it in compliance, then we send them a notice of hearing. And there's a lot of back and forth that I know our clerk engages in with property owners when they get the initial notice, or oftentimes meetings will give them a heads up before we even issue the notice. So, there's a lot behind the scenes, and then obviously we go to a hearing, and if Manny witnessed the violation, we have to have Manny here to testify at the hearing. So all of those, activities are involved. So I just want you to be aware, it's not just simply observing a code violation, it could be more. And I don't know if you've talked with Manny about, is he also doing the paperwork, or is that still a staff function?
I don't believe that was addressed in the proposal from Hyberg, but let me just.
Well, that'd be something you want to check out, but I would presume that the town would still be doing all the paperwork. This is
Why would
just so
pay
we don't,
$65 an hour to have somebody?
right, this so we don't have to hire somebody
Yeah.
full-time and pay them with all kinds of money. This is the whole point of this. And put it this way, how much code violation do we really have? So it's not like the
How many
guy's gonna
times
be,
we're in front of a magistrate.
right. So, I mean, this is just to solve one small problem, and this is part of it, is just clarify those things with
Yep.
Mike and bring it back and you probably can bring it back at an August 5th meeting, couldn't you?
Yep.
So do we want to go with a dollar figure or an hourly figure?
Well, we're budgeting the dollar figure for the budget, but the hourly figure that he's gonna still have in his proposal.
So,
But
We have to
maybe
put a
he
number
would
in the
just,
budget. Yeah, we have to put a number in the
So
budget.
yeah, I've got to put another.
so 40,000, is that,
Well, we're not gonna do that now because they're gonna come back with an updated proposal on,
But for budget purposes.
For budget
can we
purposes.
Pencil in.
pencil in 40,000.
Yeah.
All right, we got you, public comment. I know you've been out over there, came all this way for that.
Terry Brown, Harvard South. I have to apologize. I have 2 brand new hearing aids and I walked out of the house without them. But my wife was busy doing something else. She didn't say put them in. But as I understand it, it's going to be code enforcement, construction focused. Someone puts a garbage can out too early or leaves it too late, like some neighbors do, you're not going to call up and, that's a code violation.
It is a code violation.
So they have to have a notice, they have to have a hearing, and in the meantime, they roll it back into the proper spot.
That's not the purpose of that.
Okay, yeah, so that, or the trash pile's left out too long, that kind of thing.
But that's a good point he's bringing up.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's why,
Discuss that.
you need a referral, a number, a case number, a photo.
First step would be a warning, correct? Issue a warning.
Well, that's usually what you guys do it good, you put it in the mailbox and.
Right, it
Put a
doesn't
little
go
warning
straight to
notice.
magistrate hearing.
Yeah.
Actually, that's illegal.
The purpose of code enforcement is compliance, not,
Right, but the focus is on construction, as I hear it.
Pretty much.
right, but if he
Permit,
if he does see those other things that you're talking about, generally, and I will verify this with them, they will go knock on a door, they will leave a, little note that said, hey, we saw your trash cans were out for
Well,
2 days after trash day, please remember to pull them back in, that type of
That's
thing.
the kind of problem you got. The chief pointed out at one of the meetings, that someone knocking on the door saying you got a complaint, a code violation complaint that originated with your neighbor. I mean, you could get into some really touchy situations.
That's why I'm saying it'd be things that Manny saw. If he's driving down the street and he knows trash day is Tuesday and Friday and the trash cans are still out on Wednesday.
Or the neighbor that's conducting a business behind the fence.
Yeah, but this avoids somebody showing up with a gun to knock on your door.
No,
I'm just trying to point out that.
Yeah, but
It's
years
more
ago,
than just,
yeah, you're right. But years ago, I mean, the police used to put a little tag on the trash cans. Hey, you can't leave your trash cans out for a little, this is the kind of thing where, yeah, you could
Yeah,
get.
no,
But the problem I see a lot of times is that some of these people who rent their homes,
yes.
and they leave the trash cans out there and they leave and nobody comes and puts the trash cans back. Like my neighbor, and I end up putting his trash cans back. But the thing is, it's like, somebody should at least put a little note, hey, you gotta put your trash cans back. Can't leave them out there until the next trash day.
When I started here.
And there's no sense of a code enforcement guide.
And I don't know how many years ago door hangers went away. I'd like to, have the door hangers come back. That's just a nice way.
But it's
We
supposed
used to
to,
give them out. We saw your garage door open in the middle.
Well, you
of
don't
the
even
night.
need to go to the front door, you just put them in the mailbox. That's the way they used to deal with us.
that's illegal.
It's illegal.
they did put
You
it in.
cannot put anything.
So
in
why
the
don't we bring
mailbox.
back the door hangers?
That's-
Just get
that's
some
what I'd like
printed.
to do.
One of the
Bring that
challenges
door
with,
in, put a door and be done with it.
one of the
Our property's on-
challenges with,
Our property's on a no trespass order for reasons that I won't discuss. So we don't want people coming onto the property unannounced. But I could appreciate the problems with people trying to do construction work or some little project without a permit. If that's what we're talking about, then I'm in favor of it. I always get a permit.
one of the challenges with door hangers, and I'm not opposed to them, is if people use their garage and they pull in and they go into the door that's connected to the house from the garage, they never see the hanger that's on the front door.
Yeah, but I think we're getting a little too
It
deep
is.
into it. I mean, really, but it's not that, the most egregious stuff is really that you're talking about people putting out tons of trash and just leaving out there for days. Or that the dumpsters without the cover, which we have an ordinance for, and I see these dumpsters without cover all over the place now. Why don't they covering the dumpster? That's part of the ordinance for the construction site. Those kind of things are really what it's for.
Yeah, those.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we will be addressing. There may be some growing pains as we figure out how to address some of these lesser issues like, trash cans, yards that haven't been mowed in 4 weeks in the rainy season, that type of thing. But
Yeah.
it will be done in a very positive and manner that encourages resident relationships.
And for Terry's house, we're gonna get a long telescopic pole for you, chief, so you don't have to trespass, you just take the telescopic pole and stick it on his door.
So to clarify, where we're at right now is 40,000 and we're gonna print some door hangers.
Yes,
Okay. So can,
Yeah, we're not trying to make it into this big, huge
yeah, no.
issue. All right, so there we go. Hey, moving on to the budget. Now, on the budget, do we want to start with the items that we had listed that, remember we had a list of items that were,
we nix some?
needed to be changed? You had that list, right, Lynn? Like
Are you
moving
talking
the,
And capital projects,
well, there was like a few of them. Let
There
me
were
get,
17 items.
Paving, et cetera.
yeah,
Can I interrupt this proceeding?
I have 11. Go ahead.
I had a long conversation with Lynn yesterday, and I just want to clarify. Because if the conversation is correct, and Lynn was going to check some numbers, we're in great shape.
Yep.
So on page one, and you don't have to turn to these pages, on page 119, we have expenditures of $10,385,000. Okay, on page 121, we have the cap projects that we've accepted or agreed to that are at 2,560,000. So let's call it 2.6, okay? So, and if you look at page 85,
These are new ones? No, these are new ones we got.
Yeah, okay.
did it change?
So,
Does-
Just to be clear,
wait a minute, let
but
me
the
just-
numbers
we
stayed
didn't
the same.
agree to the
finish.
capital expenditures.
Let me just
Yeah.
finish.
Go ahead.
So if you now go to page 85, at 5.4%, which is what we're currently at, we have 13 million, let's just call it $13 million. So we're actually totaling our budget out at 12.9, and we have 13 million under 5.4, unless all these numbers have changed.
correct. At 5.4, the expenditures are 13,045,000.
45, correct.
Yeah.
So we're in great shape.
Yeah.
We are in
So
good shape, yes.
to your point about the capital project, yes, we can go through those.
Yeah,
but
we haven't agreed on it.
we should realize that the ones listed, Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, the ones listed are total up to 2,560,000 cap project expense.
2,000,005, and for that, look at that specific page.
2 million.
It's on page 121.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
So we had
This is the
2,298,506.
best shape we've ever entered a budget process in, as far as what we need to spend and what we're collecting.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes. Right now, we, at 5.4, all of our revenues, and that includes the grant revenues for the FCT grant and the FERDAP grant. Well, the 13 doesn't, you need to add another 200,000 because it's accounted for in the next column. But we would have 13,245,298. Okay? Our anticipated expenditures total, yes, ma'am?
Where is the FERDAP grant in the budget? Because we see the state grant for the street property, which is 125. Where should we record the FERDAP grant?
The FERDAP grant is recorded in the same line. If you look at the column called Commission 1, you'll see that
What page are you on?
increases.
85. Over here. It's under the tab of
Under,
revenue expense.
What
So
tab is
look-
it
look right
under?
here. See where it says Commission 1?
you have,
Let's take this one. Is that real rate of debt?
That doesn't-
Yeah,
Commission 1,
13045.
Rev expense, Dave.
Thank you.
There's 200,000.
Why does that state grant money change
No, because we had the priest grant, and when we did the first commission, when we had the finance recommended, we only had the $1,054,000 for the FCT grant. We had not gotten notified of the additional 200 in the FERDAP. So,
Grant was 1.25.
no, the FCT, which is for the priest property, is $1,054,000 and change. Which if you look at,
That's on page 84.
it's on page 84,
Okay.
It's 200,000 different than Commission 1. I'm not sure why.
right, because after we looked at it last time, which was the finance recommended, between July 1 and now, we found out we received a second grant
Right.
for an additional 200,000.
Okay.
So our total state grant funds should be 1,254,000 and change.
So in the column on page 85, it says finance recommended, we should just simply take the 13,045 and add 200 to it, correct?
Correct.
So be it.
Yeah, but so commission 1, where you pay ad valorem taxes, is that 6%, correct? And the mill rate is 6, correct?
Right, that's why he's saying.
That's why it's higher, right?
Yeah, well, gave the state the cap, that wasn't a fixed begin discussion.
It was an amount for discussion, and without knowing how much revenue that's going to bring in, which is why I put it into the Commission 1 package, we would not be able to calculate where we are financially, what that additional change would be.
No, I think you're missing what I'm saying is the mill rate of 6 was something we agreed on for reporting purposes. It is not what we intended to have. I don't understand why it's there for us to begin a discussion at that point today.
Because the commission directed me to calculate all of the direct fixed costs, and then also how much for the capital projects that we had talked about, with the max mill levy being 6.0 mills. If
I
we
don't recall asking about that.
well, that is why we were setting
We
the
capped,
max mill.
Carolyn,
Yeah,
we
we
capped
capped
it
it
at
at
6%. And the other number that we should all be aware of, and correct me if I'm wrong, is every single 0.1 mil is $166,000.
I got 168.
168, all right. So if these numbers are accurate, and we have to assume they're accurate, otherwise
They
we
are.
can't do anything. We're in great shape to get to the capital projects.
Yeah,
That's what I think too.
24 amended budget number for ad valorem taxes was supposed to have been corrected. That 8077 was based on the mistaken use of the net taxable value last year. Remember that we had a special meeting, adjusted that number?
I do, and I will get that changed. I'm not sure. The only thing that will change, however, is our total fund balances at the end of the year. At 5.4 mils, we are looking at a mill levy or ad valorem tax collection.
9085, right?
What?
Isn't that the 9085 that's on page 84?
Yes,
9,085,029, right?
correct. That's at 5.4. That would be our.
The only
ad
difference
valorem.
is the Commission 1 is just at 6% because we just put that in as a plug,
Right,
just because we had to file a form, right?
right.
We didn't say we're going to do 6. We said-
No, and we're not to the approved calendar. That number for ad valorem taxes can change from here until Commission 2, which is what will be discussed on August 5.
But you say that inconsistency here, I mean, if we're talking about 5.4, we have grant money of 1.254, like that, it's not consistent. We should, I don't know.
No, that one should be 13,245. The total revenue on finance recommended, didn't you agree, Lynn, should be 13,245?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So Carolyn, it should be 200,000 more under finance recommended as total revenue.
24, 25.
Yeah.
13,245, 298.
Yeah, whatever the, yes.
Yeah, so what are the expenditures?
Right.
Well, that's what.
So can we just move right to cap projects?
Yeah.
And then we're done?
Well, I think it's the capital budget stuff.
But I do have a couple of
Right,
things we
that's what we
did,
do.
to make sure we move them all.
What are we looking for?
Oh, man, I just want to make sure we did these movements, like,
So what page are we trying to on the budget?
well, these are the ones that, like, one on, remove the 50,000 of public works for the truck.
That
It was already on page 17. Did we do that?
Actually, we removed it from both.
All right. There you go.
I had 17 items that I'd written down. You only had 11?
Well, I only had
I mean,
11. But yeah,
No, I mean,
17.
I just was taking notes last time and.
Yeah, that's what I
But
did.
I'm sure you did them all, but.
Wouldn't they be listed under capital?
Well, it was like
Last
different
half?
things that were on, they
They're
were
all
doubled
over the
up.
place, yeah.
That's
Some of
all.
them were kind of twice. and
Right.
stuff like that.
Right, any duplicates were taken
The
out.
fire hydrant, page 32, and we did remove the 20,000 on that.
Yep,
All right.
But we took the truck out, but put that money into what?
we didn't, we just took it out.
No, you reallocated it for, Chambers video system, 52.5.
The chamber video system should have already been in all of the previous budgets.
No, it was not in our last version.
Oh, everything is.
Wouldn't we just go to the capital expenditures now and tick through them, and they should
Well,
include some of that material?
It does seem like there were some errors we should just confirm got fixed from last time. It'd take a second to run
Okay.
through.
Yeah, go
Are
ahead.
we okay with that?
Yeah.
And by the way, my 17 isn't really 17 errors, so it's a few of them, but you've probably got the same ones on here. Interest earnings, Lynn, we had talked about that. I ran some numbers on that.
Yep.
Are you guys,
But I got
Is it
those
the
numbers
time
after
clock?
this went out, so those are not accounted for.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I did not account for the additional interest numbers because it was after the packet had gone
Yeah,
out.
no, I know.
Yeah.
No, but I said we'd talk about it here. So guys, I ran, Lynn gave me the actual cash balances at the end of every month for the last 12 months. And I just ran what the interest revenue would be at the current rate of around 5.2%, at 5% at 4.75. And that generates interest earnings of somewhere between 489,000 and 536,000. So I would suggest we put 500 in the budget. We've got 300 in now, so that's a $200,000 good guy. That's a $200,000 pickup, it pays for some stuff. So I would rather see that at about 500. Lynn, are you comfortable with that? The numbers are really going to be higher because the balances will be higher this year,
What was your range again?
489 to 535. I've got the actual amounts by month that
Yeah.
just applied an interest rate to, and it's,
So I'd be conservative. I'd go to 450, so we know we're gonna hit it, right?
this
Does
is
it fluctuate?
based on last year's balances. The balances
Right,
will be
but
higher
the
this year
interest-
because,
If the interest rates go
Tax rate is
down
gonna be
from here
higher.
on,
well, I picked 4.75, that's what the bottom is at 489. That's at 4.7,
so let's say the Fed does 2 cuts.
4.75.
You see what I'm getting at? Just to be safe, go to 450. That's all.
Okay,
So we'd add 150,000 to the 13,245,000. Right?
yes. So you guys all okay with 450?
Yeah, I'm
I
okay
think we'll
with
beat
that.
it by, 50
Yeah,
to
I agree,
80,000.
but that's good for
Yeah.
reserve, yeah.
Also, that we were talking about the special counsel, the 183,000. Are we gonna
Yes.
lower that
That was gonna
number?
be 100, I thought you said?
Yeah,
I believe that is lower. I'm trying to think.
Outside legal fees, it said it was at 183 and it should
Well, that
be
was for-
100, that's what my note says.
I think it was still in.
Yeah, we did lower.
Well, we said we were, I
Yeah.
don't know if we lowered it. That's why I'm
It's
asking.
good.
I changed that. Christie got me different
I
numbers.
just didn't know where to look, but I just want to make sure that it actually came through.
I'm not trying to cut into your pie.
It's not my number, it's for outside counsel.
Yeah.
Special.
Her pie gets bigger.
Well, you're special too, Christie.
It would have been helpful for me if we'd had a little bit of footnote explanation under that legal. It just shows professional services, legal special counsel and printing.
Yeah, because I just want to know, did
Special
we lower,
counsel
did you lower
is
it?
everything other than Christie. Christie is legal services, and printing is any kind of legal documentation that she has to do.
Is it
I'm
in?
noticing the legal did not get updated. It's 40,
So it's overstated by
100,
Where you got it at?
111, and then there was an additional one, I forgot about another one. So we're looking at it dropping to 130.
All right, so we're gonna,
Special
that's gonna
So
be
you
in
dropped it
addition.
to 130 instead of to 100. Okay, so that drops, that's a 53,000 good guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
because it was 183, so
Understood.
we're gonna drop it to
so our
130.
expenses
Yes.
dropped by 53,000.
So that's a.
So at the end of your list, we should take that money and add it to the 13 million, right? If you
No,
save, you
that's
continue
an
to say things like
expense.
this.
This is the 13 is the
Expense.
revenue.
That's
It's a
expense.
Yeah,
fee
it's
expense.
not revenue, yeah. We removed the shirts.
We removed the shirts. Carolyn has a couple of things.
Shirts are gone.
I mean, I've asked about this before, but in terms of getting an explanation, can we have more narrative on each section for the next round of the budget? So explain what has changed since the next, the word document, or however, if you just give me
I can put together narratives, yes.
I think just,
Yeah,
I think, you're bleeping in and out a little bit,
Yeah.
Carolyn, but I think is what you're saying is when we get the next version, if we could just say, here are the 12 things that changed, plus minus.
Well, okay, another one I have is Danielle, we're not doing anything to bring her up as a full-time employee, right?
Correct.
All right. The other one I had was a vehicle lease, 50,400, the real number was 38,549. You
Yeah.
change that?
Can I call your attention to page 122 of the packet?
Can we finish that first, the previous question, and then go to Carolyn's?
Okay, this is about the video system, go ahead.
So what about the vehicle?
So what's the result of the vehicle? Yes or no?
Where she's
I'm
looking.
sorry, I was putting something in. I missed the mayor's question.
We had a vehicle lease of 50,400, but the real number was 38,549. So did we change that?
We're gonna switch.
I'm just going over the notes I had.
We even thought that seemed high.
That's the actual billable amount, and that is in the building department. Let me find the building department.
Yeah, it said building department, official vehicle, 38,549, which seemed high.
Building department.
Yeah, that can't be right. I thought we fixed that. That'd be 3,500.
Buying a truck every year.
Yeah, it's 3,500 for the lease.
Well, then you can check on that. I mean, that's,
But that's what we were supposed to do since the last meeting, that was the note to check on.
So why don't you keep going on your list and she'll get that answered.
Lynn, so there was another item that you had that said something about pay increases were understated by 130,000.
Yes, we had, in the
Okay.
first, in the finance recommended, I had not gotten all of the standard 5% merit increases included in the finance recommended budget.
Is that now fixed?
That is now fixed.
Okay.
But we also still have to, like I said, we've got the comp study that we'll be presenting at the August 5th, and we have our first negotiation meeting with the union next week. So we'll have a better idea on the 5th as well, what they're asking for. We do have requests from the dispatch department to make changes to the salary ranges for, to increase the top level. So that is something we will also be discussing at the next meeting. So that could have effect on overall salaries across the board. Once the commission hears the study, here's what we hear
Right.
from the union, and here's what the dispatchers are requesting.
But the thing you knew was wrong last time we fixed.
Yes.
Okay, so there will be further discussion, got it. Lobbyist, I had a note called number 6 called lobbyist 30,000. I don't know, I didn't put any more detail, I don't know what that meant.
We had talked about hiring a lobbyist this year. That is not something we've done the last couple of years, but as we're continuing to ask for grants from the state and for potential legislative appropriations.
So did you add that in? Is that in?
Can I speak to
somewhere?
that for a second?
You sure
Can
may.
I speak to that for a second? Okay, so we had, a budgeted lobbyist item of $20,000 up until this past year, we took that out. This year, we applied for a $250,000 appropriation from the state. This is state money, not grant money. We were denied at the governor's level after getting all the way through the House and the Senate. And it was made very clear to us that without a lobbyist, you're not going to get through the governor's office. And we've since had a grant meeting with Lynn, Lisa, myself, and our grant writer, had a meeting recently, and we were talking about the, seeking a state appropriation, what would be a good project to go for another state appropriation. And we talked about refurbishment of our stormwater pump station. And that, if we're going to do that, we need to have a lobbyist to help us. So that's why we put the lobbyist number in there. I know that Lynn and Christy are working on getting,
That's correct.
I thought we agreed, yeah,
We
I thought we
agreed.
agreed to it. I'm just asking if we did it.
No, we did. We
Yeah,
agreed
it
to
is
leave
in
there.
30,000 in there.
Correct.
Okay,
We'll move on.
all right.
Pickup truck, did you already talk about? a
I already
pickup
did
truck?
that one.
And there was 52.5 on page 18 and 45,000 on page 17.
Yep.
We were somehow gonna fix that.
I can hear some of you, it's very faint.
There also was that
How is Carolyn coming through? It's terrible.
yeah.
She's
There's
on
also
the phone.
750,000
She's on the phone and I bet the
was
microphone.
in the physical environment that we moved to the capital improvement.
Is there anything in physical environment?
No, you had a capital improvement plan, we had 750,000 not, and it was in the physical environment. So we had it in physical environment and we had it in the capital improvement, and you're going to take it out of one or the other.
I take it out of the environment.
Capital improvement, 750K, not physical environment, it was in both.
Was that the 750K potable water replacement?
And I would have taken it out of the original physical,
Right, and you're going to put it in the capital
and it's
improvement,
just in capital, yeah.
right,
Okay. So that, you did do that?
Yes,
She's checking.
right.
because the total physical environment budget right now is 747,220, so there's no way that could still be in the regular physical environment budget.
Good.
Yeah.
The other thing was you were going to look at this $50,000 storm drain. You're going to look into that.
It was on page 33 in the last meeting. I don't know what it is now.
What was the storm drain?
It was a
Was this his
Storm
harbor?
drain maintenance of 50,000. I've
storm
got the
drain made
lead
of
above.
50 Gs.
What was it, harbor or what was it?
It was just a general ledger.
We thought it was a duplicate or something.
Yeah.
We've got,
I thought it was a
we've
one.
got storm drain maintenance of Televac for 35,000, which is different than storm drain maintenance that would be in capital. Televac is when they go through and
Yeah, they suck it
they
out.
jet the existing outfalls to make sure that there's no debris in them, camera them if they get blocked to figure out what the problem is. That is the regular storm
Okay.
drain maintenance.
So we concluded that it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We thought it looked funny last time. Wet well maintenance of 15,000, we thought it was in twice last time.
That's the other thing.
Wasn't, it was taken
You
out.
copying my notes?
Is that what you got saying?
Oh, come on, you know.
Good, we got good notes. So you
Also,
took the
we-
double out? Okay.
Take the double out.
And we moved the paving plan we removed.
Remove the paving plan.
Okay.
Garbage, we had 462,214. We were going to verify and make sure we're passing through the actual amounts.
Yep, the solid waste is now down to 327,340.
So hang on. Does that mean we just captured or lost the expense of 100 and?
I think it's already in here.
It's
already
already,
in the-
reflected.
it's already
Sorry
in
to know.
Commission 1, the change.
You might have already mentioned this one, building department clerk, 100K. We're going to follow up on.
No, we're not doing that.
We're
That
not
was
doing
that
that.
Danielle.
So you fixed that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Town hall painting, 10,000, and police painting of 35,000. I had it on a note, I don't remember why.
I think we left that in there, didn't we?
Did we leave that in? Is
we
that-
did, because
Okay.
there's maintenance on the police side, and then there's maintenance,
Okay.
regular maintenance on the other side.
Yeah, new carpet and paint.
Can I
I think we nixed it.
I don't think so. It's in there.
Yes, Carolyn, you can ask about the utility truck.
Okay, so page 122 of the packet, the public works pickup substituted the utility truck of 52.5, that was taken out. And instead now, commission chambers video system, 52.5 is a line item.
Yes, it was originally all supposed to be under the video system. It got put in the wrong line in the footnotes calculation for the first. We are not getting
Can we
it.
see a proposal on that, or what, because I know that we had the budget before, improving the video system in the chambers, but nothing's really changed, obviously, I'm on the phone. Like, what is this gonna do?
This would actually be putting up, and I know, Kelly, I think you've got the proposal. There's multiple fisheye cameras that both face out to the audience and then from the audience face to the dais that would allow us to then live stream video and audio.
So will that be in this room and also in the conference room, or
No,
just
it
in
would
this
only
room?
be in this room.
So we can only do video from in here.
Okay, to Ana's original
And then
question,
would someone who's not at a meeting be able to participate via video?
Yes,
That would be something you guys would have to vote
But-
on.
that would be something you guys would have to vote on, but.
I thought the point of your list is that in the budget or not?
Yes, it
So it's in
is.
the budget, so now
I
we
just
can
want to know if it's in
move
the
on.
budget, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a 20,000 fire hydrant, I don't know why I didn't.
I did, Debbie did that one too.
Yeah, is that out?
That's
Do
out.
you know what that means? Okay.
It's repair and maintenance. It's out of the capital and it's only under physical environment.
Yeah, we removed it. It was page 32, $20,000 we were supposed to remove it because it was in twice.
Yes.
And I had on here loan payments for drainage and town hall loan. Looks like it might have been a misclassification. Did we reclassify it? Or is that
We
just?
are reclassifying. We also discovered as part of the FY23 audit that Bank of America, which holds the town hall loan, had been improperly calculating our payments. They had our principal payments steady and the interest payments were changing rather than a typical amortization. So we will be most likely putting in a budget amendment at the August meeting for that and to amend for the water main project for a catch-up. Because if we do not catch up on the principal on the Bank of America loan, it will go past our current deadline of 2027 for the payoff. We're approximately 40,000 behind in principal payments because they've been improperly taking the amount out since 2022.
Who's they, the bank?
Bank of
Bank of
America.
America.
That's whacked.
That's good.
It is the second time they have messed up.
So wait a minute,
Did you,
I'm lost. They're supposed to be reducing principal, but they haven't been? But we've
Correct.
still been paying them, so now they've been applying it to our
No, they
interest?
weren't taking enough.
No, they,
Oh, so they haven't captured it from us.
right, they
Okay.
were not capturing what they should
So,
have been in principal.
Back to our
payments.
core question, is that reflected in this book?
No, because we just got that information after this went out.
Okay, so how does that on your sheet?
That's gonna
And
be
and
expensive.
that will
for you.
actually be
That'll
So
a,
that's a,
but that will be a
doesn't capture
budget
anymore.
amendment for FY '24. So.
That's a hit, $3,000 hit.
yeah, it's a-
But it didn't show up in this yet. 'cause she
No.
hasn't fixed it.
Because it won't
So the
show up in
minus-
this because
it's a
we're going to
minus.
get it caught up before FY '25.
I do.
Weren't we taking out the 500,000 for paving?
It should be out of the capital budget.
No, it's still in 125. Paving and 500.
13,
Well, that's in capital though, so we're going to get to capital to talk about.
Yeah, we're gonna get that in a minute. Okay,
Those were all of the adjustments that I had from last meeting.
that's what I got too.
So just to put it, if I caught everything, what we've basically done is through this list you put together, we've reduced the expenses by $13,000.
Yeah, if you take the 40 off the 53 of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So that's what's not reflected in this book. So we're within 13,000 of accuracy, which is pretty damn good at this point, right?
Hey,
Well,
It's
all
the only
other
person
things
in the
are-
audience, why not?
Good.
In other words, there are a whole bunch of things that
Have
are.
mercy on me. Thank you, Mayor. Christine has it 29 As long as we're looking at line item things, there was just a couple of ones that I don't know if they've been discussed, but I was here at the last meeting, and I don't think they were. One was, and I'm not sad to see it, but one is land acquisition at 25,000. Do we know are we saving money to purchase something, or?
That was, I put in, and I discussed it at the last meeting, that was done as, with the difficulties we're having, getting easements from property owners for drainage outfalls. If we need to start spending money either for eminent domain or paying for those, we need to set some money aside so that we can do so.
Perfect. And the only other one that I had was a take-home car allowance of almost $100,000.
I thought it's $300 a month.
It
That's
is
what I
$5,400 a year per officer if they stay through the entire fiscal year. That was approved in February of '22, moving forward as a amendment to the PD contract in addition to the base salary and the bottom of the salary range and total base salary ranges for all officers. The commission
So-
approved that in February of '22.
What was your number?
$5,400 an officer a year.
So it's $91,000.
$91,800.
92,000, okay. So once again, to the core question, that's reflected in this book.
Yes.
And there's gonna be no
Thank you.
change to that.
There's not any plans to increase it, no.
A lot of money.
All right. So any other items?
So just to recap, so I think on page 85, I think we've got, Lynn, we're about 13,245, 298 is about the revenue, maybe it's.
No, you gotta add
By 13 grand.
150 to it. 150,000, I think was the interest.
It was 13,395.
Yeah.
We're adding 150.
So we're at
that's
13,395.
13,394, 298.
Yeah, we gotta take out the 40,000 for the BOA. We're gonna have to pay.
That'll end up.
No, because that'll be in this year's budget, because we're gonna have to amend that budget.
Okay, so
And-
that,
All right, so that
now we're
one-
down to 13.
So we're still back to 13,395?
355.
What's the 40 you're subtracting?
Huh?
What's the 40 you're subtracting?
Because it's, the
The B-
amortization of that loan that they screwed up,
Yeah, but
it'll ultimately hit us for 40 grand this year. So we
Right, but we captured 53 in legal,
Right, but that's in,
so that's an expense.
Well, actually, that's an expense, no, so we
Yeah,
should go
right.
back to where we were, yeah,
Right.
it's 13,395 is the revenue.
Yeah.
Right.
On the expense side, so we're at 13,395 in revenue, correct?
Mhm.
And then, Lynn, if I see on your thing, page 119, finance recommended, you've reflected almost all the changes, but there are a couple of things on page 119. It's 10,430 this year.
Where are you?
you know,
On page 119,
Yeah, I'm there.
that's finance recommended,
that was.
total appropriations,
Yep, gotcha.
so that's expense, before capital.
Correct,
Right,
So
but then,
kind of like if you
just
look at-
general fund expenses.
but then you have to add the two,
But then there's another
2,516,000,
some
yeah.
million in,
No, but we haven't done the cap.
right,
Okay.
I'm just saying, what we asked at the end of last meeting, because we said, what does it cost to run the railroad here? You know, what's the basic stuff that we really don't have a lot of discretion, even though
okay.
you've got some discretion on these other items, but you're not
So
gonna change.
you're looking at that in my world, it's a fixed expense.
Yeah, I mean,
right,
it's,
so the 10,
not
430, 152, roughly
Okay.
with some of the
Yeah.
changes we've made today.
so that was getting to your point of earlier, which is, so if we kept the mill rate the same, we're at 13,
Right,
whatever. And
395.
so we got like $3 million that we can talk about that we had spent on capital. I had a quick question on the audit report. It showed that last year we spent 7.950 is all we spent. So that kind of feels like what it really costs to run a railroad. What's the difference between the 7.9 and the 10?
Well, the difference is, this year, we've taken items that were previously in capital that are actually maintenance items, things that we do every
Reclassified.
year, and reclassified them into the general fund. as opposed to the capital fund.
Okay, so that would say if last year, so presumably our year-over-year capital expense, ignoring no items, would drop way down because we moved that over to regular operating expense.
Correct.
So this $3 million, kind of difference would be real kind of new capital expense discussions that we'll have, I guess. Right?
There's 2.5 of new capital. It is actual drainage projects.
Yeah.
It is vehicles. It is radios for the PD.
I haven't got to the list yet. What I'm saying is, I'm just talking about what's our possible envelope look like.
Right.
And if we might say we want the mill rate to go down, or we might say we're gonna go up, but if we kept it the same, the envelope looks like it's about $3 million.
Correct.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay, and so we've got a list here that I
Correct.
didn't agree,
Total
I didn't agree to the list,
It's
but
total-
I said we
total
need
2
more
million.
discussion. But it adds up to 2.5 million.
Correct.
And so we're still, that's what I would.
And
think
we're
we
still
would spend
plus
this money on.
500.
It's actually
And the-
2 million if you take out the paving.
Paving's out in this
No,
book.
it's in.
Is paving,
Paving's done.
Paving's
She is correct. I did miss getting that. So it's 2 million. That does include, however, the 52.5 for the chamber video system. It includes the 10,371 for year 1 of the body worn cameras. Years 2 through 5 will increase to 35K. That includes 155,000 for police vehicles. That's 2 new vehicles as well as the lease payment. And that includes 183,981 for Motorola radios. However, we do have the option to spread that expense over several years.
what list do you take
I
me
don't-
through, the capital
Lynn,
expense?
before you get
Yeah.
into the detail, I was just trying to,
Right.
so that we're all kind of level set on where we stand.
Correct.
I think everybody's saying, after we went through those 17 items, we're kind of okay on the basic expenses.
Right.
And we
We
have,
have kind of an agreement on that. So now we're talking about the 3 million. How are we gonna spend that? Lynn's got a whole list here of stuff. We're gonna go through that.
right,
And hopefully we can, because I can't figure out where she's reading it from, but it's someplace in the back here. So, but that's probably the value add for us to spend our time on is,
Yes.
how should we spend it? And if we get done with it and we say we don't need it, then the mill rate's different.
right. So I totally agree with what Ian's saying. So our cap project spends at 2,560,000, and we realize we're gonna discuss it. And we have $3 million we have. So the only other number to have in our mind is 166,000 per 0.1 of a mill rate. So in other words, right.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually something else, and I spoke to Jeff about this earlier, and I alluded it to you, Ainer. We have a lot of long-term capital projects, not including the 750 that we've got for water main construction and the 500 million for the water. Long-term, we've got all of our water distribution
Right.
infrastructure and septic to sewer. Do we want to start setting aside a specific amount of our funds that we bring in every year for those major capital projects into capital reserves so that in 10, 20 years, when we do the septic to sewer or some other major infrastructure project above and beyond what we're budgeting for each year, we have the money to pay as much cash as possible, which we could set 160,000 aside and put it as a restricted towards future septic to sewer conversion. We could, right now, our restricted funds for capital and for debt service is only 1.2 million out of all of our fund balance. We have a lot of major capital projects. We've talked, septic to sewer is going to be 40 million and the price is going to keep going up. If we don't start putting money aside for that, we're going to end up having to borrow the full amount. Do we want to push that down the road and have to borrow the full amount, or do we want to start saving for that project now and have that money restricted for that project?
So Lynn, I think on that one, I think there's a lot of things that we need to look at, alternatives like bond issues, funding that might be available, et cetera. The lobbyists will help and all that. On the water distribution system, our pipes that we own, and we've figured out that that's a really expensive item if we had to do that. I think we put in the budget $70,000 for an engineering study of the pipes to figure out, to do a study to figure out.
To study phasing and
Yeah.
getting our water.
What would be like if we were gonna attack the 10% that was most critical, which would that be? And how much would it cost to do that? I mean, that's how I
Yeah,
understood the study.
that's the plan for the engineering.
So I'd like to see that, study, but in anticipation for it, I think it's valid to have a conversation that says, last year we had $1.2 million that we didn't spend out of our budget. I would have rather that we took that $1.2 million and said that was gonna be earmarked as a capital expense to help on the pipe projects as we start going, or something like that. I don't know what the right number is, but we should have a discussion around that, rather than lowering the mill rate and then coming back later and saying, oh boy, we need $40 million. I would rather, not create an expectation like that. Now, we might say we want to lower the mill rate a little bit because it's a good symbolic thing to do, but we've got some big underlying expenses that are coming down the road, and I'm kind of uncomfortable continuing to kick the can down without at least having a plan.
Right.
Now, maybe we're 12 months ahead of being able to have the plan because we haven't had the engineering study done yet. Because I don't even know. Like, maybe the guy will come back and say, it doesn't matter, the pipes are all the same. Or he might come back and say, you know what, there's these junction pipes that if you could fix those, you probably got another 10 years of runway. I just don't know what they're going to say. But I'd like to see a study like that would help us inform a plan that we might want to have that says,
Right.
set aside $1.5 million a year or something.
I agree. It's not, the septic and sewer thing, that's back burner to the water infrastructure. Back burner. I mean, we keep talking about septic and sewer and putting money away for septic and sewer. We need to put the money away for the 70,000 linear feet of lines we have. That's where we need to put the money.
Yeah. And I think this engineering study will say at the 70,000 feet,
And
there's 10,000 that, man, you got to
needs to do it right now. Yeah, so.
And I don't know how much that costs, and we might be able to fund that over 3 years, at $1.5 million years, something, I don't know.
I mean, we're only doing 3,000 linear feet, and it's costing how much? $1.2 million?
2.3.
$2.3 million. Do the math.
So it's big numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm encouraging is if we're going to do that we set a policy that it be set aside as restricted for capital projects, rather than it being the general capital reserves, general fund.
Right now, we have everything just sitting in, virtually all of it, isn't it?
Virtually all of it. The majority of that 1.2 million that is restricted is the almost $1 million in infrastructure surtax. The surtax committee has set aside for septic to sewer conversion that we've decided we're going to now use for the water projects. Septic to sewer isn't.
So my question is, what is the benefit to restricting the money?
The benefit to restricting. Yeah, you can't spend it if 5 years from now, when the 5 of you that are on the commission right now decide that they don't want to fund water projects because they don't see it as a priority, they cannot spend that and say, okay, we're going to cut all of our taxes by 50% because we have this amount in fund balance.
I'm not sure I see that as a benefit. I mean, the restriction, let's say we have a hurricane and it does devastation here and we really need a bunch of money to spend, and now we've got it locked away for just a specific purpose.
See, I agree. So we're a small town. This isn't a big town where, you've got other items that may come into play. So you're actually, to me, by restricting that money, you're restricting the ability of the town commission to be able to spend that money on something we really may need at that time.
Yeah.
No,
So-
you could change it.
I
Once
don't-
it's
I'm just
restricted,
saying.
the commission can
But a
vote.
capital project fund could be anything. So I don't know. I'm against restricting the money.
That's why I'm not saying that we restrict it to the water project. I'm saying we restrict it to capital projects.
Yeah.
That way, if a hurricane hits and we have to replace a whole bunch of water main, we have the money separate from what we have for regular operating to keep us going.
I mean, I get it, but I think you're restricting the town commission. You're saying that the town commissioners that are up here are not going to be smart enough to know where they're spending money. I don't.
Well, I
don't
think
think
there's, I
that's
think
really
there's
the-
two conversations. One is, are we gonna have a plan to set aside funds? Separate is, how legally are we going to restrict it? Those are two separate conversations, because we can decide to set aside $1.5 million a year towards what we think will be the water project and leave it in the general surplus, or we could separately decide we're gonna segregate, but that's a different decision that I don't care if we make that decision today or not. I like the idea of having the planning discussion that says, I'd like to figure out of that 3 million, how much we need right now and how much we should say, we're gonna earmark that.
No, I agree with that. I think
Start
putting the
by-
money away is
Yeah.
one thing, but restricting it is a completely different conversation. I think we should definitely be saving the money.
Oh,
For that water.
Carolyn's trying to get in.
Oh, Carolyn, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just in terms of restricting it, I mean, what happens every year, as you know, we budget for things and it doesn't get spent, and then it just goes right back into reserve. I think by restricting it, and say we're putting this money aside for capital projects, at least demonstrates that we're being responsible with taxpayers' money. It's just not going back into a piggy bank.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that if we had a plan that said our goal is to use X% of this existing surplus towards capital, and then also we're gonna begin to set aside $1.5 million a year, whatever, towards future capital projects, I think it gets you to the same place. I'm less stressed about whether we actually put it into a restricted fund, but I'm open to the discussion. I mean, I don't feel passionately.
I think we definitely have to save the
The
money.
process of unrestricting the funds, if you have funds that are restricted, is simply going through the full commission voting on it. So if we've got 5 million in unrestricted and 4 million in restricted, and we need 2 million of that restricted for something else, the commission by vote can unrestrict that.
Is that
But
just a majority
So
vote?
then what's the
Just
point of
a-
restricting it?
Right, it's,
No, it sounds like it's more
maybe it's just an
unanimous.
exercise in
no, it is not,
government.
it's a majority vote,
What's the
but
point?
it requires a conscious action of taking it
I
out
think
of
what
capital
Lynn's saying
projects.
is, what that would mean is any future commission, let's say we all decide we've had enough of this in a couple of years, and other people come in, and they decided, you know what, we're gonna lower our tax rate to 2.4%, and we're gonna use all the money, it would require them to actually take a vote to tell the citizens that's what we're gonna go do.
Yes,
That's the only difference.
You have to take the commission has to make the conscious effort to unrestrict it.
But if they're of a similar mind, if they're all of a like mind to wanna do that, they're gonna do it anyway, so.
All right, well, let's make the conscious decision, at least to make sure that we're putting the money. So if we actually
important thing
increase
is
the
what they
millage
decide,
rate
Yeah,
by a certain rate, that's $168,000 by that 1 mil, right? Not 1 mil,
Point.
point mil, right?
even if we went from 5.4 to 5.3.
Yeah, it's 166 grand.
No, no, that would be half of 166. If you did 5.35.
At 5.35 would be 166?
No, no, it'd have to be a full point drop.
Oh,
Yeah, I figured at
5.3,
5.5,
yeah.
we're at
5.3
168.
would be 166, oh. So we could do both things. We could lower it by a mil. We could lower it if we wanted to, and it would cost us 166, and we'd still have how much money we could set aside. Or we could just keep it the same.
Right, but we have to go through the capital project funding in this budget first.
All right, so let's figure out what we're gonna do the capital projects. And then,
I'd say, so what we've decided is we're not gonna put it into a restricted fund, and we're not gonna talk about septic and sewer. That's what
Correct.
we've decided? Okay.
At least those of us that were talking the loudest said.
I mean, you
Does
can talk.
everybody agree?
I don't know, you-
I agree.
So we
How do you
want to have a general fund and we want to have a capital fund, correct?
Lynn wants that.
We have a general fund and a
That's-
capital fund.
There's just nothing in
We're
the.
not restricting them.
There is unrestricted funds in the general fund, and there are restricted funds that are in the general fund balance, which is our debt service allotments. And then there are capital funds, and there are restricted capital funds.
I got it.
all right, so let's get to the capital project.
Let's get to the capital projects, page 122.
Yeah, is the paving plan coming out?
Listen, Marty, voice.
I'm sorry, Lynn, what is?
122?
What's
Can they
121?
hear me?
121 is the overall capital projects, but it doesn't list the projects by,
Okay, so it's kind of high levels.
it's the high level of
Categorization.
every account number. So if you
Gotcha.
go to 122, It will
127,
break it
122's
down.
got nothing on it.
Hang on, yeah, Lynn, this is the page I went through with you yesterday, because mine has under finance recommended $7,500, and you were gonna go talk to Kelly, see if this was a misprint.
Wait, which
I got
one?
57.
We're on page 122 of the packet.
yes, 122 is the
says
packet.
52.5.
I got 52.
Yeah,
fine.
57, but actually the number is huge, right?
No, because this is just for machinery and equipment in
Okay.
We
519.
got more pages.
There are more pages.
So what's,
Oh, so we're
what's on
approving
page
page by
125?
page.
Right, because if you remember the way we did it previously, there were always a page that said by account number, these are all the different things that we are doing by account number.
Got it. All right, so
Now
the
in-
first one is the machinery equipment. What do we got here?
We have taken out the public works tools, we took out the replacement utility truck, but we corrected it and put the 52.5 for the commission chambers video system.
Is that based on a proposal that we received? 'Cause it just
That was
seems
based-
high. but-
Yes, that was based on a proposal we received, but we would still go out to bid.
And what exactly is that gonna do for us? Chambers video system, is that gonna allow Zoom calls or stuff like that?
It's what we discussed earlier. It's what we discussed earlier, all
Yes.
the wish list things.
All the wish
I was,
list stuff.
I was in
Fisheye
some
camera.
other.
Fisheye cameras.
Yeah.
You were here, but it's just,
Yeah, just, I was
It's
zoning out.
amorphous.
So you say I was zoning out?
Can I make a suggestion?
Thanks a lot.
It's a more,
Thanks for pointing that out.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes,
With the video system, if you're getting bids for that, if you narrow it down, because it's such a big number and we have high expectations with that number, could we get the finalists to come present to the commission and allow us to ask questions?
I don't see why that would be an issue.
but for now, we'll leave the 52.5 in there because that's
Yeah.
indicative.
That's a budgetary.
Yeah.
amount.
Okay, we got
okay.
Okay?
it. Next one,
All right,
Page
then we go to
123.
page 123.
123.
This is machinery and equipment for the police department.
Why are you
It
guys always
is-
so expensive?
There was something
Okay.
added, remember? The
Yes, the
cameras or
radios
whatever.
were added.
The radios were.
So you've
The
got,
Motorola replacement of the police radios was the 183,000.
183,981.
Yeah, but on the radios though, we can finance that, so that whole number wouldn't be in there, would it?
no, but that's the total amount. Scott has, and I believe Kelly, you've got the information to show what the breakdown would be if we chose to finance it.
And I think I left a memo on for the replacement.
Put it in here.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Um,
Right 216,
over
the
3 years,
radios.
it's 69. In a 5-year, it's 43.
I didn't see the attachment.
This sheet. So what do you recommend?
This doesn't say.
My recommendation is that, and this isn't the chief's, but if we have the money this year, why spread it out over 3 to 5 years paying for it?
What's the interest rate?
The interest rates are 6.22% and 5.93%, depending upon the 3 or the 5 year.
I don't know what sheet you guys are on.
It's
I'm
right
looking,
here.
I'm looking right here.
Look at your,
On the
What's up on
screen.
the thing? Oh, here.
This is the radios.
So, Lynn, you answered the question, right?
Yeah.
Just pay it now. We got the
Just pay it
money.
now.
That's my recommendation. Scott can, I mean, if we have the money right
Well,
now,
One way to look at it is it's going to come out of our surplus. Our surplus is earning about 5.2. So if we're paying 6.2, we're losing 1% basically on the amount that we pay.
Right.
That we defer. So if we got it, we might as well pay it.
If you lease it, who maintains the equipment?
It's under the Motorola's is under warranty.
So if we buy it, it's not a difference between leasing and buying as far as maintenance. It doesn't create a difference in the maintenance of the units.
No. Well, they do the programming.
Right, in the maintenance.
Yeah, well, you're talking about that's for the 911 equipment and the dispatch center, the radios.
They don't do the radio, the Motorola radio?
As far as I'm You talking about the?
I don't know.
They're under warranty.
It's an electronic
If something
equipment.
happens to the radio, who
And
fixes it? I mean, is it
Well, Columbus
included?
County, we have a contract with them, but it's under, the radio's under warranty.
So what's the
So
answer to
Motorola
Amy's
takes
question?
responsibility for it.
Yeah, for 5 years, I believe.
And it doesn't matter if we lease it or buy it. If we buy it now, it's the same package of maintenance, same warranties, et cetera.
Yes,
Okay.
But we buy it, it's our equipment now.
it's our equipment, yeah.
But it's under warranty.
Correct.
Yes.
But if we, if we buy it, and, I mean, just devil's advocate here, we buy it, a couple of years later, something new comes out, and now we have this equipment, how much would we actually get back as a trade-in value? Well, whereas if we were leasing it, wouldn't it be
I think they did give us.
be it better on a trade-in value? You know what I'm saying?
Are they giving us credit on the
Yeah.
old
Yeah,
system, Scott?
Well, I'm sorry?
Isn't the credit on the existing system?
Yeah, trade-in values.
Right. Keeping in mind, this is what
We're pretty
the,
much using our radios to the end of life. We're not upgrading just to upgrade. We've had these since 2016.
No.
We can't replace.
Chief, we're not-
They're out of warranty.
None of us are saying we should get the radios. We're saying, should we buy them or should we lease them? It's
Right,
just
right.
a buy versus lease discussion.
Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, which
We're
just
fine.
gives the town a better
Yeah,
benefit.
so
buying or
why don't we
lease.
do this? Why don't we approve this and we'll pay it off now, assuming we don't find out between now and,
Yeah.
we'll do some research on it to make sure that it's not stupid to buy. That it doesn't hurt us
Yeah.
somehow in terms of
Good
a
idea.
maintenance
So
contract or something. I assume it
I
is.
got a question for the chief. It's nothing to do with the budget.
Yeah, nothing,
Nothing to do with the budget.
nothing to do with the budget whatsoever. It's just.
It's
is
just
it
we're in a
better-
budget
which-
meeting, unfortunately.
Right.
Right. A radio, right? Because this has happened during the Trump assassination attempt. Is your radio capable of having two frequencies coming into it at the same time?
No. Well,
It can
we have
only be on
we have
one
different-
frequency.
We have multiple channels.
You go to different channels.
Yeah, so
don't
you
go
can't
to
do the
one.
same frequency,
No,
but you
no.
do multiple channels.
Right.
So you'd have to change the channel.
So you'd have to click back and forth.
No,
And
and
that
with the
would-
new radios, you don't even have to click. It's like a Siri voice. You can say, whatever the
Gotcha.
prompt is, change me to channel, whatever channel. They're GPS activated. We can track them with a map. They're.
Okay, that answers my question. I
They
was
use
just
cell
curious.
technology, which we're limited to. Luckily, I don't even know if this would cover the whole county right now. With the new ones, that you can talk throughout the United States.
No, they're super high tech.
Yeah.
I mean.
No, I was just curious.
We get all that, but I just wanna make sure
I
that-
understand why they couldn't.
So Lynn, who would usually do an analysis of whether we should lease or buy this? Would that be you or
that would be me.
Christie look at the contract? Or you would?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then Christie.
Have
would
you
evaluate
yet
the
taken a look
contract.
at this as on the lease versus buy?
I haven't in terms of any type of warranty aspects, no, but I will.
So the commission, I think what you're hearing is the commission saying, we have the money, the interest rate they're charging us is more than we can earn on it. So we might as well buy it unless there's some reason related to
Right, unless it
warranty
affects the
or
warranty.
upgrades or something
Yeah.
like that, that would make us regret the fact that we bought it.
So I marked it a yes.
Okay.
Right?
Sounds good.
Yeah, so we're good for that.
So, page 124.
124, machinery equipment.
We currently have a lease payment on the building department vehicle. And I've got to double check on that because.
We asked, because that looks so, that's like costs more than a Bentley.
Yeah, and I'm not
It's $3,600
sure.
a month for the lease.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
$3,500.
I've got to look into that, but we also have talked about, the building department currently has two vehicles. They have a Ford Ranger and a Toyota RAV4. They were bought when we had both a staff building official and a staff assistant or part-time inspector. It does not make sense for us to keep both vehicles for the building department. Right now, they're not being driven. It would make the most sense to sell whichever, return the lease on, I believe it's the Ranger that we have the lease on, return that, get out from under that, and then transfer the operating cost, because I believe the RAV4 was bought out, but completely, just straight out cash pay, and then transfer the operating, gas repair and maintenance to general government, allowing, right now the PD does not have a vehicle when officers go to schools, different things like that. So we don't have a vehicle for them to take. Staff don't have a vehicle that they can take when they go to trainings or to conferences, to meetings, whether that be Kelly, Trina, Jean, myself. So that would be a vehicle, that all departments would be able to use. It would be not a marked, because the police wouldn't need a marked vehicle to go to trainings, but it would still be a city vehicle, and it would allow us to keep that vehicle. Otherwise, if the commission isn't in favor of that, it only makes sense then to get rid of it, because having two vehicles that are not regularly operated, sitting in our fleet is not cost effective.
All right, so I do have a question, because it says that this 38,500, that is what's left on the lease, and how many years are left on the lease? Because there's no way
If that's
this is
what
1
is-
year.
If that is what's left on the lease, there are 3 more years left on the lease.
Right, so
including
this
our
is
fiscal
what's
year.
left on the lease,
But
so it's
this-
not
This
3,200
shouldn't
a
be the
month.
amount in the.
Yeah, this is
capital
divided
budget.
by 3.
We asked about this last time. We need to get to the
Yeah.
bottom of that.
But anyway,
Right.
so I agree with you. I mean, the Ranger, we really don't need the Ranger. So if we turn this in now, what's going to be the penalty?
That's what I will find out.
Okay,
And normally with government leases, there should not be a penalty, because they are to be written to where if the governing body does not fund the payment, then
Then it gets returned.
Oh, they
it's
repo.
done.
Right.
And it's not repoed, it's just automatically
Yeah,
it terminates.
doesn't cost anything. So if you drove your own car to Tallahassee to a meeting,
Mhm.
do you then charge 60 cents a mile to the town?
Yes, for anything outside Palm
Okay,
Beach County.
So what I'm saying is we don't want to buy this car, keep this car as an extra car and have people using it and charging on their own. You see what I'm
Well,
saying?
no, and they
We have an
wouldn't,
extra
if they drove, if,
we have 2 extra.
If we
vehicles.
had-
Right, we're getting rid of one, we're keeping one.
right, if we
We're
keep
keeping the
the
RAV4, which we
RAV4,
should keep.
then
Right.
travel
Because
like
it's
that.
multi-purpose.
It's multi-purpose. This thing we gotta get rid of.
Right.
This was a
Would it-
boondoggle.
Right.
Is there any possibility that 2 groups might want the vehicle on the same day?
Sure.
There is that possibility.
And then somebody's gonna pull rank.
Well, so what? So
Well-
that's why we have Avis.
Flip a
That's why-
coin.
Whatever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we don't
Thank
need to
you.
provide a pool of cars for.
No, I agree.
All right, so the decision is to get rid of the Ranger, right?
Yes.
And,
All right.
and
And then
fix-
get to the bottom of what this number is, because
Yep.
that seems too high.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you what it is. It's 3 years on the lease, divide that by 3, and that's your,
All right, so
it's basically $1,200 a month is what the lease is costing.
page 125 in the packet
Okay.
is the majority of our capital budget. It's improvements that are not buildings, which is what the general ledger account is called. We have $500,000 for the valve can insertion project. We have $750,000 for water infrastructure repair. We have $15,000 for wet well maintenance.
Can you backtrack Woolbright Detention Area Maintenance and Tilling? Is that because it was accomplished already?
That was because we authorized that in FY '23, yeah, or '24.
I'm sorry, Lynn, just before we move, the 750?
Yep.
That's just a placeholder based on what it's cost us to fix brakes in the past.
That is a placeholder to allow us to, with the engineering study, start
Right.
another project
Start.
beyond.
So we
the
might decide
ARPA.
that number should be $1.5 million or something. But
Right.
Right now,
Right.
we just got 750 as
Right.
placeholder.
It's a placeholder. 15,000 for wet well maintenance, 70,000 for pump refurbishment, 15,000 for pump station upgrades to the controllers and electronics, 5,000 for camera system upgrades at the pump stations.
So I know you probably explained this 10 times. What the heck is camera system for the pump stations?
It is a security camera system that alerts us if people are messing with the generators, with the pump station controls, If there is.
So is it like a motion detector with a camera?
How do we monitor it?
What?
Chief?
Currently, they're ring cameras.
Yeah, currently they're Ring cameras. We would like to upgrade it to a more,
So the 5,000 is for rings or for upgrade?
it's for upgrades.
And that would be some monitoring station that would,
And where would that be monitored at?
Billy would have access to it, the police department would have access to it, and.
Does it ding or
Wouldn't
something?
that be in the dispatch?
Well, it's probably cloud-based, you could have it on your phone, I mean.
Yeah, but who's gonna-
Yeah, how do you know
I think
somebody
it's
is
more
messing with it?
Because it automatically would send you a notification.
What's going on with the phone, when it's activated.
Well, I understand it. I got the same thing on my house and my office, but most people disable it because the pain in the butt, when a tree moves, it gives me an alert. But the point is, if I'm not looking at
Right
the
now,
phone,
the police department doesn't monitor it.
that's what I'm saying.
Billy monitors it with the ring.
Right.
Okay, I guess that's my point then.
With something beyond a Ring camera system, the police department would be able to monitor it. You can narrow the focus to where it's not just if the tree moves or things like that.
I get that. My point is that it should be monitored by the dispatch. I mean, if you I get it to put on people's phones, but if I'm on vacation, Billy's on vacation or he's doing something else, somebody's doing something else, who's gonna look at the phone? Who's gonna make the phone call?
so that's 5,000
We
to
have-
do that, right? To put it
Right,
on a
that's
system that.
to upgrade.
No, but
from-
that's,
Dispatch
he says it goes on the phone. Does it go,
No,
it
the
should
current
be,
one goes
we have all these huge TVs in the dispatch. Shouldn't it be another part in the dispatch that says, hey,
I think
guys,
she's saying that's what it is.
somebody's at the pump.
You're
With
saying
the
that's what this is,
upgrades,
right?
that's what it would be.
That's gonna cost a whole lot more than $5,000, I'll tell you that right now.
Each location would have to have hour and connectivity to get back to the station.
Right. What I'm making the
If you're
point is,
looking for dispatch to monitor it, I don't know, I don't think it's so much for tampering, I think it's for Billy to know, when he's maintaining the pumps, to know what pump is running,
So can we find out more about?
yeah, because it's not making sense, because $5,000 is not,
Sounds like it needs to be either zero or a big number.
it's gonna be, if we're gonna do this right, and we have a Ring camera, really?
That's what we have currently.
I know that, but you have these,
I wonder if it's battery or hardwired.
so, I mean, if we're gonna do something right, we're doing all this money on the inside to do Zoom things, but we have these pumps that are integral part of the town's infrastructure, and we're gonna look at them at Ring cameras?
So we decided that Lynn's gonna come back with more
Yep.
information on what exactly that is. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
The next line is the Hudson Avenue seawall at 114,860.
God, it seems like a ton of money.
It's 65 feet or something?
Yeah, it's not that.
And then we get to the land acquisition, which Mr. Hassett mentioned earlier. That is there in case we have to start paying for these stormwater easements.
Yeah,
It is
got that.
my hope that we don't, but I would rather be prepared. 10,000 for the tropical station infiltration. 60,000 to do grouting and on the Island K pipe and catch basin. It's something that you do about every 10 years, I believe Billy said, just to make sure that there's no cracks in the pipe, things like that. I did not budget anything for several of the drainage projects because right now we are sort of at a loss for easements on these.
So.
Well, yeah, that would be
We have
included in the
budgeted-
25 grand.
Exactly.
I mean, that should be taken out of there completely.
Or expand what land acquisition means.
Well, that's exactly what I would just have it as a subsection or something. All right, let's go down here.
So I'm gonna just put a great big line through all these, right?
Mhm.
Oh, they're all at zero for all of
And the
the,
paving plan, I thought we took out.
the paving plan
Right.
will take out.
So
The,
hang on. Is the paving plan included
in the
in
bottom
the
one.
original numbers we discussed at the beginning of the meeting?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so now
It's in the
we're
2.5, now we're at 2.
at 2.
That doesn't seem possible, does it?
Well, we're 2
Well, we
for
just went
capital
through all the
projects.
numbers.
There's
Keep
a
in
number
mind,
too.
Steve, we transferred a lot of the things that we were budgeting
Yeah.
over here over into the regular budget. So we went
We
from
went from 8 million
7.9 to
Yeah.
10.
All right.
10.
All right.
Couple
it's-
So
million got moved over.
it
That's actually
shifted
more money to
from
spend.
capital to general
This is
fund.
crazy. I mean, think about it, right?
Well, it's good because it gives us
But
a
it-
jump on the next
in
few
all
years
the-
to fix
in
all
all
this.
the budgets I've ever done here, we've never been in such good shape.
Never.
Yeah, but that's because that's just the scalability, right? I mean, the prices of the homes have gone up so much.
Yeah, but even,
Got to the
they
point
went
where-
up more the past 2 years than they did this year, and we didn't have this luxury, right?
Yeah, but you get to a point with scalability
Yeah.
where everything's
Cool.
to the good.
It's good.
So our bottom number here is actually 2,015,261 then.
When you get the 2015,
Mm-hmm.
Which means we could put the potable water at $1,750,000 and keep the mill rate at 5.4.
Yeah, you could actually take that 500 if you wanted
Yeah.
to and move it right up to
I
the
think that's a
potable water
good idea.
function.
Or you could move 750 up there because
You could.
or we could have a discussion around taking the mill rate down.
I'd say move to the water. We're gonna face a disaster.
Leave it at the 2.5, just move the 5 to the 750 and make it, like I
Correct.
say, 1.3.
Exactly.
But then if we do that, we're still 500,000 shot, you know what I mean?
No.
Then you're talking about mill rate going down.
Yeah,
We
still
have 3
that
million to
extra-
spend
Right,
and we're only spending 2.5,
including, right,
including
the
500.
500.
That's not saying let's
Right,
put $1 million
But
up
we,
there.
we can do that math in the final stage, right? What does that, the mill rate at?
Well, but what he's saying is
That must be
if we make that 750 for potable water, 1.75 million.
No,
Add
see, I don't-
500 to it.
You only want to add 5.
No,
That's
but
what
you're right, but you got to say, Ada's saying, make that 1 million, make the 500,000 1 million and put it over to the infrastructure. So the idea, yeah, leave it, let's see where it is and just move the 5 to the 750. And then we know, okay, so this is our revenues, expenditures, and then what's left. And then we can decide, do you want to
Then we
move
can
that?
decide later if we want to make it.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that's
Okay.
going to give us room to move and have a discussion around whether we want to take the mill rate down or whether we.
Exactly.
So we have to
Fine
aspect
with
that number, just so we remember, right?
Yeah, just move the paving plan to the potable water for infrastructure.
So Lynn, you got that right.
I got that.
And then in the next meeting, we decide, okay, now here's your numbers. What are you gonna do? What do you want to do?
Now, when we get that engineering study done next year, we may come back and say, geez, I wish we would have made it 2.5 million. You know
Yeah,
what I
but then
mean?
we do have still have the
We'll have
money.
another year. We've got
Right,
13.
and remember of that 3 million, we still have issues that we're looking at for compensation, benefits, and for contract negotiation with the PD.
Yeah,
that
it
we'll
could be
have.
135, 150,000 for that.
So those numbers may increase out of what's that remaining.
This feels like we're at a
Very productive.
pretty good point for this stage,
Mhm.
at this stage of the, I mean, it
Hey,
wasn't
so-
last year, but.
Do you have everything you
Got your
need?
notes? Yep.
And the next meeting would be the
August
5th.
5th.
Now, do you want to move that till 3 instead of 2?
Sure.
And keep in
Unless-
mind that we're going to have the presentation of the comp study, so I don't know how long that's gonna take.
Yeah, but that's
I
3,
think 3 o'clock
because it's
would
4 or
be-
5,
Is the comp study going to be in the pre-meeting or?
It's gonna be in the budget
an hour and a
workshop,
half.
because it affects the budget.
Well, if we have it at 3, the meeting's not till 6,
Till
right?
6. That gives us
Yeah,
2
so,
hours for the
I mean, it's
budget
not like-
workshop, then you can go home.
And you
get
need to go home
supper,
and do
come
anything?
back.
Force us to have some discipline, yeah.
I don't want to order food into the chamber cell.
Me either.
So everybody should get a half hour off in between meetings.
Okay, so you have 3, if you start at 3, it gives a half hour between the meeting, 5:30 and
Yep.
6. I mean, it shouldn't be that much more really to
No. this
hash
is-
out.
Yeah.
It's more of a philosophical discussion at this point.
Yeah. So what do you want to do? 3, 3:30? What's the pleasure?
Let's do 3. So you
3?
get some time. Everybody has time then.
All right, so let's move it to 3 for the August 5th. That'd be good. It'll give me more time to drive up from the Keys.
You got a house down there?
No, I'm taking the boat down there on Saturday.
Oh.
And my wife's mad because I'm driving Monday back up here to do the meeting and then drive back
You
there
know,
at
there's that
night.
little airline.
Huh?
The airline out of the Keys.
Yeah, I'm not, I mean, it's only 2 hours either way.
Oh, you're at the top of the Keys.
I'm in Marathon, so it's not that far.
And inside to
So is this
Marathon,
meeting over?
from Marathon's easy.
What happened?
Is it over? We done?
Yeah, anything else? Anybody have anything else? All right, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. See you Monday, 3:00.
And move it,
Which turns out.
to 1.25.